I'm Kevin Davis. This is the Catholic Family Podcast, and we got a couple guests on today. You noticed my dad next to me. He's been on here before, and a friend of ours, Leia, who's also joining the show. One of our German friends, and that's going to make sense here in a minute. Leia, I think you were on a podcast like a long time ago, weren't you? Have you never been on? Was that
Yeah.
that was Raisla and Vera? So first time. So Leia, it's nice to have you, a good friend of the family. And a wanderer, a walker, I suppose. That's what we're going to talk about today. A hiker, I suppose. And we're going to talk today about pilgrimages, and especially a pilgrimage that goes from Paris to Chartres, France. And we're going to do it through a video that was done by Dr. Steve Turley. He's a pundit, I suppose. What is Dr. Steve Turley exactly?
Yeah, real quickly, Kevin. He's a pundit. He's extremely biased, and he'll tell you exactly his bias. He's exceedingly positive, and I think he actually looks at his platform as a place just to bring out positive thoughts. He's an excellent analyst. He's Greek Orthodox. He does not get into religious politics much. He does talk about religion some, but I think that being Greek Orthodox is kind of an interesting side note to this particular podcast. But he's a good commentator. I think if you don't follow him, he's one to check out.
And again, we brought Leia on because she has done this pilgrimage to Chartres. So Leia is our expert on the matter. And so as we get going, let's go ahead and turn on. How do I do this again? This video. Again, this is Dr. Steve Turley. If anyone wants, obviously, you can go over and check out his channel.
Tens of thousands of pilgrims from all over the world are taking part in a 60-mile, 3-day walk from the city of Paris to the Chartres Cathedral. And the numbers that are attending this annual rite are absolutely staggering. We're going to see how what's happening in France is actually par for the course of a massive surge in pilgrimages all around Europe.
Including one to Alt-Itting, Germany. Everyone, I just hope everyone's paying attention to that. That's the most. I know Leia would agree with me. That's the most important one. That's the one that we organize with a group of friends here. It doesn't quite have tens of thousands of people, but it's pretty nice. And Leia, I guess my first question for you would be 60 miles. I think what is it, about 90 kilometers? That's pretty far. How did
Yeah.
you feel after that?
I think it's 3 days and every day over 30 kilometers. And yeah, it was really a lot. But for me, I didn't even feel it because
Okay.
you're so in the group. But yeah, I was also lucky with my feet and everything. I didn't have great injuries or something, but my cousin had, and yeah, then I think it's kind of difficult.
Shoes are important. That is, if anyone's going on pilgrimage, get good shoes, and I guess maybe
Right.
just have good feet, I suppose too. But it's a long way. I mean, we've done it here in Haltoting. We do 2 days around 30 kilometers a day, a bit less, maybe more like 25 per day. And it's a lot. It's by the end of the second day, you're definitely ready to be there, and so to do it for 3 days it's an impressive thing. And I'd say, Leia, again, before we go back to the video, what would you say is the average age of the people attending?
Mm, I think I saw mostly younger people,
Mm-hmm.
maybe average 30 because there are younger ones and also some older ones.
Yeah, interesting.
Does that mean
Yeah,
I
so
don't have to do it, Kevin?
you don't have to, Dad, but you'll raise the average median,
Raise the average age. Yeah, there you go.
right?
And what it means for the rising up of a Christian renewal all around the world. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your patron professor, here to help you stay sane in these insane times. So make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Before we get into this amazing development in Europe, let me ask you something. What do you
I'm going to skip the commercials.
pilgrimage
Sorry, Dr. Steve. Anyone who wants to watch his commercials, you can go over to his channel and do it.
from Paris to the city of Chartres? It's an event that draws primarily traditional Catholics, trad Catholics as they're called, to celebrate together the pre-Vatican II traditional Latin liturgy. What's so fascinating here, though, is that the numbers of attendees have been skyrocketing of late.
And so I think that's an important thing, Dad, to say now that this is the FSSP, I think. Right? Is that right, Leah? Because I think the SSPX does it the other direction. They go from Chartres to Paris. I think it's smaller. That's a couple thousand, while the Society of St. Peter does the tens of thousands. And Leah, do you know how long they've been doing this? I actually don't even know.
No, I don't know.
Years. It's nothing super new.
My mom did it also when she was young.
Yeah.
So
Oh wow.
Okay, so decades then, obviously, and
Yeah.
it's interesting. I'd be curious to see how it started in the modern times, because obviously it's something that the pilgrimage has been going on for hundreds of years. I think a thousand years even. Chartres has been one of the top pilgrimage places since, I don't know, the 1100. I don't know exactly the dates, but it'd be interesting to figure out how exactly that started again, because I know Altötting also used to be a really big pilgrimage destination, and it's slowed down significantly. You used to have, I think, hundreds of people even per day walking to Altötting, but sadly now it's pretty much us, I suppose. So anyone who wants to come and join that, again, that's the pilgrimage you really need to be at. But let's get back to the video.
Have reached the tens of thousands. This year alone, the estimated attendance is anywhere from 20 to 40,000. The pilgrimage begins.
Leah, do you know how many people about there were when you were there? Approximately?
no, I don't know.
A lot. Yeah, right. Can you tell? I guess that's another question. I mean, can you tell while you're walking how big it is, I suppose? Because I think maybe you were telling me, someone was telling me that as you have to think about it, it's such a long line that you really have to wait your turn. You're kind of like waiting. Okay, you're having thousands of people having to go before you do, and so you're having to get in line, and you're waiting for everyone to get going. I mean, was that something that you noticed, or just kind of went with the flow?
While we were walking on the way, we didn't really recognize it. But
Okay.
for example, at the breaks, sometimes when we came to the place where we had a break, the ones at the front were already leaving again because they had their break, and we were just coming to this place. And after us, also were many people. So.
Well, and I know that they also have like big trucks and stuff that support the pilgrimage too, right? Though I don't, is that with food and stuff, or is that just with bringing? I know they bring tents for to say mass in the morning and whatnot too.
Yeah, kind of everything, because we only had our food for the day, a little lunch and something to drink, and they carried our tents and also clothes for the next day and everything. So this was really good.
That makes a difference. Yeah. So Altötting, we have to carry everything on our backs. That's harder.
I've always wondered, John, at the end of the first day, you just basically camp out where you are and start the next day, or do you go home and start over where you start? You finish the previous day.
No, they have really big camps and also huge tents, and you can either sleep in some of these big tents. I don't know. But we had little tents. I don't know, 5 people or something, and they were all at the same place. It was and there we also saw how many people there were. Yeah.
But it must look like an army. I can only imagine.
Yeah. Well, you're not there for maximum comfort. You're just there to get through the night and start in the morning. I can understand that.
Yeah.
I'd say you're there for making sure it's not comfortable, right? That's kind of the
right.
Got to suffer a little bit. All right, let's get back to the video.
Particularly young Catholics gather together in prayer and worship in preparation for the journey ahead.
Wow.
Then the tens of thousands of faithful begin their 3-day journey towards the sacred city of Chartres. The journey is bookmarked by a solemn mass each of the days they are on their journey, with thousands upon thousands united in worship in the solemn mass, the ancient Latin rite, partaking of the Eucharist.
Is that something, Leah? Is it chaotic in these places, or is it pretty well? I imagine after having done it for decades, it's probably pretty well organized, I suppose, or runs pretty smoothly.
It was really good organized. fully like the places for the tents and everything. They had prepared everything, and we all already no, yeah, we always knew where to go. Or yeah, they also separate all the many pilgrims in smaller groups, the chapitre, and I think it's around 50 people or something. And they also have their flags, so you're in a little group in this big pilgrimage. So this also makes things more easy.
And
Yes.
was while you're walking, or I guess the whole experience, is it pretty devout? Is it prayerful? Or is it kind of a mix of prayerful and fun and joking, I suppose? Or
No, it was with a lot of prayers, because we, if I remember it right, I think we prayed the Psalter, like the
mm-hmm.
3 rosaries, but we sang it even.
Mm-hmm.
So this takes a lot of the time of the day. And then we also had Betrachtung. Kevin, help me. Like spiritual reading.
Right. So something to meditate on, I suppose. So a priest or someone would tell you something to think about, kind of.
Yeah, over microphone.
Over my okay, yeah, interesting.
Yeah, and in between you just could chat with the people around you, and
So similar to what we do at auditing,
Mhm.
kind of a mix of, you have the time to get to know people, but also a lot of praying and singing. See, I always think it's kind of funny while you're walking up a hill without any breath and you're super tired and you're like trying to sing. It's like, oh, I don't know about this.
But sometimes it even helps you.
It's true though. That's absolutely, that's what they do in the military too, right? They get your head off your feet, I suppose, and into the song. All right, let's get back to the video. That's pretty awesome to see so many people in cassocks and whatnot. I guess that surprises me a little bit. How many? Because I mean, I guess I don't. I always underestimate how big the FSSP is. I suppose I always think of them as kind of being almost fringe, but it doesn't look like it.
No, I think that they're bigger there than they are United States, and obviously we have to acknowledge that they're priests of dubious ordination who are in communion with Rome and whatnot. But at the same time, you see the devotion, and you see that they are actually doing this for God, and they're actually doing something proactive, and I think that part of it needs to be celebrated. And for me, I mean, I can put aside the fact that they're not open heretics or anything like that, but they're of a dubious origin. But I mean, look at what they're accomplishing.
Yeah, well, exactly. And just again, I think even when we walk through to Altitting and we're 20 people, 25 people, you do get people looking at you, and people are kind of like, oh, and they know what you're doing. I think most people really do, especially in the area of Altitting. People understand that. And I think it does make people at least think about it. So I can only imagine 20,000 people, just driving down the road and seeing an army of people with flags. It must be an incredibly impressive thing. I mean, I imagine too, obviously when you're part of it, that must be something that impresses you. I mean, it has to, I suppose.
Yeah.
Just how big it is. But I think that, like you said, I mean, just the fact that you see that there are still tens of thousands of people who are willing to suffer for God. I mean, that is something that, again, you can get into the nitty gritty. And again, I think people know our stance on the matters fairly well by now, but I think we got to stop being so cynical about everything. And I think if and also I everyone who watches the show knows I am a huge proponent of pilgrimages, because I've in my own life have never experienced anything that is as beneficial as a pilgrimage. And I've heard just from our little pilgrimage, we've done 4 years now, I think 4 years. I've done it 5 or 6 times, and there are so many people who've had their prayers really answered. I mean, almost miraculously. I mean, truly, Our Lady really, really hears your prayers, and it's an amazing thing to see. And it's, Leah, I'm sure you would agree. It's a good way to meet new people and make friends, I think.
Yeah, if you know already they have like the same
Right. Yeah,
moral
exactly.
standards, and and also if you walk together and suffer together, that's also like you have a lot in common. And
Yeah, exactly. You can feel
like
comfortable in their friendship almost. I mean, maybe you might have some crazies, I suppose, walking along, but in general, if they're crazy and they're walking for Our Lady, well, I guess that's my kind of crazy. And I think that's
right.
Absolutely is something beneficial. And I know in this video he talks about how you even have some famous people attending. We'll see. I think he's coming to that soon. Let's see if that's coming up here in the video.
Together at the sacred Chartres Cathedral in celebration of the ancient Latin Mass.
Nous nous mettons à genoux.
I just have to comment real quickly that for us, this is fairly normal to watch. I mean, it's a huge cathedral, obviously, but I imagine a lot of Steve Turley's viewers are kind of like pretty knocked back by this because it's just not something you see every day. I think in your normal YouTube commentary, I suppose.
Into the Catholic Church.
Oops, sorry. I skipped ahead, but I missed it.
Owens, who was
there it is.
Received into the Catholic Church, and Marion Maréchal, niece of Marine Le Pen, rising star.
Oops, sorry. It's interesting here. He says
in France's nationalist populist politics,
Maria Le Pen, a rising star. I don't know how familiar he is with French politics, but I would not call Marie Le Pen a rising star. She has had several chances to win the election.
Yeah, she's been out there for a while.
And she's lost pretty badly to Macron, who is absolutely horrific. So I would not call her a rising star, but she is certainly a somebody in French politics. And it's interesting to see. It's interesting to see someone like Candace Owens, and I think that type of thing is huge. I think that's a really big deal because again, she's just a person who talks for a living, so it's kind of whatever, but she has millions of people who watch her, and now I guarantee you she's going to do some shows or podcast about going to Chartres, and that's it's a shift. I think there is a shift in the world in a way. I think that Dad, I know you would agree with me that you get the cynical people and the black-pilled people are just like the world is ending. There's nothing left to live for except for heaven kind of thing, which of course that's our primary end, but I just don't think it's true. I think there's a lot to be optimistic about. I think you would agree, Dad, right?
Yeah. And for me, I think I see things like this, and I see that there was a video a couple weeks ago or several weeks ago about this Protestant evangelical church in California that basically they took over a school board. They got a 5-2, and they started banning books and doing things according to biblical standards and all that kind of stuff just for the greater honor and glory of God. And I know I get a little bit frustrated with our group, our people sometimes, that we have a tendency to sit back and argue theology and complain about how bad the world is. And I mean, dadgummit, we should be out doing things. We should be out, even if it's walking with this FSSP group. I mean, we don't have to endorse their theology to suffer some pain for God's sake. And I think that that's one of those things that I know it's a calling card for you on this channel, Kevin, is do things, get out there and be active and do things and shine your light to the world. And I think that's something that, with this video, you can see FSSP is showing us up a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. And the nice thing is that a pilgrimage can be really, really easy. It does not
Hmm.
have to be Chartres. It doesn't have to, because I'm sure Chartres, I imagine you have to pay something for it, Leah. I don't know. I mean, probably not a lot, but I'm sure you're paying some money for it, a little bit of money so that they can transfer stuff. And it makes sense. But in general, I mean, let's say all thing, we have one night, you have to book a night for $30, and you get food and a bed, and that's it. Bring nice shoes and two pairs of clothes. It's really easy, and you don't even have to do that. Do one day. Do a 1 day
Hmm.
pilgrimage, and find 20 miles from your church and walk to your church. That you don't. And I think we get into, because in Europe we're blessed. And Leia, I know Leia just finished or did part of the Santiago de Compostela, so the way of St. James. So props again to Leia for being our wanderer over here, or our pilgrim, I suppose, or our what's the our pilgrim. That's what I couldn't think of the English. Our,
Right.
our pilgrim. So not everyone is blessed to be able to hop over to Spain to do that, but I don't think that's even the point. I mean, if you can,
Right.
I mean, good grief, I'd love to do that someday. Leia, that must be another amazing experience for you. I mean, we'll talk about that in a second, but I just think that's not the point. The point is your feet are bleeding and sore for God, for your own sins, for your
Hmm.
petitions, for it doesn't have to be walking to Chartres or St. James. It really doesn't.
Right.
Just go walk to your church. I think it's that simple. I think people overcomplicate it a bit, and it doesn't have to be.
We get a little bit of a sense of this during Lent, and we do a little bit of suffering, and I know that for this past Lent, it was one of the rare times I think that I had a couple of times during Lent where I got to the point of this just hurts. I was feeling bad and cranky, and giving this and giving that up, and it just hurt. But I was able to take that and turn that hurt towards God as an offering, and it was powerful. But I mean, it was kind of nothing compared to what you go through on one of these pilgrimages.
It hurts. Yeah, I know Leia would say that too. And Leia, so you did Santiago de Compostela, but that was almost on your own, right? And you didn't. I guess that's a confusing thing, because the path, there's many different paths, right? And there's kind of a one big one. I mean, you finished part of it, or how did that work? Because I knew you started a couple years ago.
Yeah, like you said, there are many routes from all over Europe, and they all come together in Santiago de Compostela. And yeah, I just took one of this path, and it was along the coast. And it should take me 4 weeks when I started 2 years ago. Then I could only make 2 weeks back then. So this year I finished it. And yeah, it was different because although there are also many people walking, I think there are coming thousands of people to Santiago every day.
Wow.
But on the way itself, I was kind of alone, and I had a lot of time, yeah, just on my own and praying and reflecting and just walking was really different, but also really worth it. Yeah.
And I imagine that, again, is something that I can only imagine would be life changing if you're doing it for a couple of weeks. I mean, just a couple of days is life changing. I really believe that. So
Hmm.
a couple of weeks. I mean, it's one of those things that, think, again, speaking for myself, it's easy to get into the idea of, well, that I could. I mean, it's too far. It's money, or I can't do it. I mean, just plan it for once in your life. Say, hey, I'm going to go over
Hmm.
to Altoting, Santiago de Compostela, Rome, Jerusalem. And there's okay, Jerusalem maybe not right now. That might be a little
That
dangerous.
might
But
be tough.
but I think there are so many places you can go that have really effective pilgrimages.
Hmm.
And but you don't have to watch your church, and I think that is definitely a good place to start. And if you're going to ever go to Santiago de Compostela, you certainly better be in pretty good fit condition. So maybe start walking to your church. Don't just hop over to Spain and do 4 weeks hiking. That may not
We'll
be.
get into it.
You'll get into it. Yeah, your feet might not, but and bring good shoes. Again, I think that's the most important point. But it's
Is it
interesting.
generally hot? Is it generally hot over there when you do these pilgrimages? You have to do, is that a big part of the problem? The problem with your feet is that it's hot.
Depends. I mean, I did Altoting in October, and it literally poured rain the entire time.
Oh, okay.
That was definitely the hardest by far when I've done it.
Yeah.
But one year we did it, and it was very hot, and that's hard just because you get exhausted, and
Yeah.
some people get even, and I mean not heat stroke, but really heat tired, I suppose. But on feet, it's just blisters, and if you don't bring the right shoes, every single step is gonna hurt after about half a day, right? Like I'd say half a day, maybe a day, and then after a day, if you don't have good shoes, you're gonna really, really feel it. I mean, I did it my first time I did it by myself, and I had bad shoes, and by the end, I was almost gonna crawl, like legitimately, I could not move my feet anymore, and it was just because I had terrible, terrible shoes. So
Hey, and this is going to be kind of a crazy question. What makes the difference between good shoes and bad shoes when you're walking? How they conform to
I
your
don't know.
feet? Is it arch support? Is it?
What do you think, Leigh? I honestly don't even know. Just something that fits your feet well.
Here in Germany, I think we're kind of in the south, uh, walking people, and almost
Sure.
everyone has good shoes. But yeah, don't take just these flat shoes. They don't support anything. I don't know. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, not too heavy, but still a little bit of how to say that
Yeah,
it supports.
support for your ankles and stuff too. Yeah, right.
Right.
It's so funny you say that, Leigh, because it's absolutely true. Germans, you go to a German's house and they'll have 3 or 4 different types of walking shoes. They'll have hard hiking shoes and medium hiking shoes and then normal hiking. I'm not even kidding. Like, am I right or am I right? I mean,
For example,
walking serious here.
now in Spain, I had my walking shoes for the mountains, and they were too heavy, so I should have chosen other walking shoes.
Oh, okay. Good to know. Oh, so
Put you a long way ahead of us in the United States. I'll tell you that.
Well, yeah. I mean, don't go. Yeah, I don't know. I think just make sure they're good. I mean, spend a bit of money on it. I don't get $20 shoes and then walk 2 days in them. You're gonna feel it real quick. And honestly, to me, that will make the biggest difference too, because you want to hurt. You want it to be painful, but you also want to finish.
We have to be able to make it. Yeah,
that's really important. That it's like you want it to hurt, but yeah, you don't want to be bleeding out of your feet, which I have seen. And I've seen people have to quit because they didn't take their shoes seriously or whatever. So do that. But yeah, if anyone, I mean, I'm very seriously, if anyone has any questions about, how to organize it or something, I'd be happy to help get things rolling. I mean, I am not an expert on these things. Leah is definitely more on that. Maybe you can contact Leah about walking. I am good at organizing things though. So I'd be happy to give tips on that. But the first thing is that, as we said, just do it. Just do it. Yeah. If you have a men's group or something, go get your men together and say, "Hey guys, today we're going to go.
We're just going to do this." Yeah, and we're not going to make a big deal out of it, because I know that there are issues here with safety and security and spectacle and all that kind of stuff. And so I know that a lot of the bishops and priests here in America want to avoid that kind of notoriety. It's different in the United States than it is in Europe. But yeah, I think that by the same time, it just means that we need to work more organically. We need to work with the men of our chapel, our parishes, and do things small and just accomplish something. We're going to walk 1 mile from this house to this house, and we're going to pray a rosary. That's it. And just make that and start small and then go from there. And I think that's what, in the United States, that's where you have generations and generations of this and traditions that were supported by the church and started by the church, and we're kind of starting from scratch. Yeah. And so, I mean, it's kind of fascinating to watch how we could try to do this in the United States.
But Americans are, I'd say, I mean, you have in general more traditional Catholics in America than anywhere in the world. I think. I mean, maybe
we do.
I suppose France is definitely close, I guess, if you're taking in the FSSP, et cetera. But America's got. I mean, in America, if there's any place on earth that can get fired up about something and make something happen, I absolutely think that people could get big into it. I mean,
I do think that there are places in Spokane. There are rosary walks in downtown Spokane that I don't know how big they still are, but at one point they were huge. They were big things. And then Corpus Christi in Southern California to Father Dominic is a pretty big deal. And so, I mean, there is some precedent here, but I think it's just something that we need to set as a tradition, because I think you're right, Kevin, that it's an extremely important thing, just in terms of orienting ourselves physically, spiritually, mentally, to God.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a good way to end it. I appreciate you both coming on. Thanks, Steve Turley, Dr. Steve Turley, for the content. Everyone, again,
Thank you, Leah.
I'm always worried with sharing these videos for copyright or something, but I think it probably should be fine.
It's pretty safe, I think.
It should be safe, but yeah, go check him out. He does have good content. He can be a little bit over the top, but in general, I do also enjoy his content. And yeah, again, guys, if you're interested in doing a pilgrimage or have any questions, send me an email, kevin89davis@gmail.com. If you have a question for Leah, send it to me and I'll filter it through perhaps to Leah, and maybe she'll answer things about shoes or maybe about Santiago de Compostela or something else that she's done. But send it to me first, kevin89davis@gmail.com. And yeah, let's do it. Just get going. Let's go do pilgrimages. Last word. During one of the greatest plagues in the history of Rome, the people are dying by, I think it's like a third of the people died in Rome. And the Pope instead didn't say, hey, let's everyone stay away from the churches, let's all just, social distance. They did a pilgrimage with like the entire town, the entire city, and had people literally dying as they were walking on pilgrimage through Rome, because he knew the efficacy of doing a pilgrimage in order to get rid of this pestilence, this plague. And you see that again, Leia could say this too, all over Germany for sure, I assume Europe, where you see little churches and shrines that were built because Our Lady or our Lord or a saint saved the town from a plague or pestilence or whatever. And a lot of the time it's because they did a pilgrimage. So these things throughout history are absolutely proven to kind of save the world. I'm not saying that. I really mean that. I really think these things this is how we win, even in society, is by getting together and doing pilgrimages and sacrifice and prayer, etc. So everybody, until next time, Leia, thank you very much. Dad, thank you. Maybe we'll do it again sometime and talk about another pilgrimage with Leia or I don't know, something. In the next video, we'll find out. So God bless you both. God bless everyone. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, all of that stuff. Until next time.
God bless y'all.